Now, even our crumbling bones will glow forever in the black earth. I'm Acadia Einstein, and this is Strangeful Things.
Sheltering in place is not advised, as your survival cannot be ensured in that scenario.
Love has practically caused me to just get you destroyed.
Unsolved, unresolved, and super complicated.
Strangeful Things.
Welcome, everybody, to... Son of a bitch.
Welcome, everybody, to Son of a Bitch.
Welcome, everybody, to Strangeful Things. I'm Acadia Einstein. Here, as always now, with Shuey.
Always, huh? That seems...
Always now.
Oh, okay.
Not always previously.
Hey, everybody.
This week, we're talking about science. Well, not just science. It's terrible companies.
The kills.
It's
capitalism.
Neglect.
Woo,
Fashion.
Treatment of women. Woo!
Dum-dums. And the fact that like right now as we speak,
Dum-dums.
we're going to be dunking on some shit that, because everyone like, oh yeah, Coca-Cola used to have real cocaine in it, blah, 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 blah. Except now the ability of companies to make up shit that's going to kill us far outpaces the ability of the FDA to fucking track it and figure out what they do with it. So
they don't even know what's going on anymore.
Right.
They can't keep up with it.
So whatever fucking...
It's not a matter of if the stuff's going to kill us. It's a matter of when they're going to figure out that it's going to kill us.
So when the last 7 people on Earth are sitting under a palm tree at the North Pole reading a fucking hollow strip about how...
The grandchildren of Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos.
They'll be talking about how dumb we were, that we believed in, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lithium. I don't fucking know.
Lithium.
Ion.
Did you just make that up?
No, I mixed up lithium ion together and I came up with lithium, which would be a way
Maybe
better
they should
battery.
start using that.
I know.
Yeah.
Have they tried it?
You have new lithium batteries.
Well, and all that government red tape, we'd have lithium already in electric cars.
That's right.
Abolish the FDA.
They would have been sending that down the Keystone XL pipeline.
That's right. Now I've gone a complete 180.
If damn Biden didn't stop it.
Fucking Biden. And we're also going to learn a little thing about how in olden times, when and I think it's directly proportional to when the country officially declared war, that everybody in the country kind of had skin in the game of the fact that there was a war.
Yeah.
And we're talking about World War I in this instance, because we're going to talk about radium, which is a radioactive element that was discovered by the Curies in 1898. Marie and Pierre Curie, who were very...
couple of fun Frenchies.
Yep, they were fun. They were way all up into radioactive whatnot. And
radioactive stuff.
Well, so they named some of it, and I didn't realize polonium. She just named it after Poland because she was from Poland.
Oh, there you go.
And I don't have proof of this, but I think that they named radium that because it was super rad.
It was radical, yo.
Yeah, it was. So they were really smart, and they discovered polonium, and then they discovered radium. And the thing about radium, see, is the the radioactivity is implied in the name. But it also had a very beneficial, empirically beneficial. Like, you're not going to say it wasn't beneficial. It was that it glowed. And usually things that you dug out of the ground didn't glow. So this was this was a little special.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a result, they're like, well, fuck, this stuff is great. It glows. So
magic.
It must be magic. And also, there's no FDA at all. So let's immediately make up a bunch of fucking huckster remedies and shit out of the stuff.
That's
and
right, baby.
It's super expensive. Like, because it's not like you're not going to dig down and find a fucking chunk of radium. You got to do stuff.
Like finding a rock. Yeah.
Right. And then you got to do stuff to get the radium out of it. It's a thing. But it was a popular thing. And this is the beginning of the 20th century. It's like, and
automobiles, stuff that glows.
Yep.
It's a whole new world.
I got a whole fucking list of amazing things.
Ah, nice.
That they decided would be good ideas. And by the way, radium was apparently 1,000,000 times more active than uranium. So that's
what do you mean active? Like it plays tennis?
No, shooting out its fucking Zazzer. Its half-life was relatively short.
Shooting out its Zazzer?
I didn't...
To those who don't understand, Katie is referencing Dead by Daylight and the use of the Zaz attack by the Doctor.
Just picture a gold bar with lightning bolts coming out of it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the radioactivity. And then maybe like a little atom spinning around.
Like a Mr. Atom?
Yeah, a nucleus. Yeah. So they invented Radithor. Which was
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool fucking name, right?
Thor.
It sounds like an amazing fucking product. Also, it sounds like kind of a Dungeons and Dragons name, like and Radithor, the barbarian. So the idea with Radithor was, we're just going to take some radium and mix it with salt, kind of. And what you do is you drink it. So it was sort of like Monster Energy, except it had actual energy in it. And the guy...
radioactive energy.
Right. They of course they said that it had medicinal properties, because why wouldn't they say that? And they were wrong. Or I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say the guy that invented it dropped out of Harvard and was not a doctor, but it did not prevent him from advertising it as, quote, a cure for the living dead, which I don't even know what that means.
What does that mean?
Does it turn vampires back to humans? Or like, are you just tired all the time? Drink some of this shit, you'll be fine.
Well, I guess if you have family that's living dead and you can give this to them, they'll come back fully alive. They just have to be living dead first.
It was also it was supposed to get your pecker back up if your pecker was no longer interested.
That was the first medicine that was ever found, right?
Yeah.
It was to cure guys' boners. Fuck heart attacks. Fuck all that shit.
Every time they found something new,
cure boners,
they would try to eat it, and then they would eat some of it, and then they would rub the rest of it on their balls, to see if anything happened. So
That's like the first attempted thing that you would always try.
it's still the thing I try to this day, which is why I.
Yeah, I always first time I get something, I either eat it or rub it on my junk.
Yep, and I can't go to Marshall's as a result.
Sometimes both.
Anyway,
They don't like me at the hibachi place anymore.
Oh Christ! There was one guy. There was one guy named Eben Byers who was a rich dude, and he's like, "Well, my cock needs some help, and I also am a living dead, and I need this stuff." And he took a lot of it, way too much of it, and
oh boy,
died.
And then the Umbrella Corporation.
He died of fucking poison because he fucking drank fucking radium juice.
Oh, that's good juice.
Some Germans made toothpaste out of it, and that'll come up later. Your teeth will shine with radioactive brilliance, said the advertisements. And when you find out what radium does, you're gonna be like, they were not wrong, but they were also incredibly, incredibly wrong. And this, I mean, it didn't have a ton in it, but
right.
It went almost up to World War II. Maybe Hitler got rid of it. You know, I'm going to put in a bunch of social changes. All of them are bad. As a stupid byproduct, I'm going to get rid of the radioactive fucking toothpaste. So, like, 4 people will be like, "Oh, that Hitler did good things."
So is that why people mean when they say not everything Hitler did was bad?
Well, who was it? It was fucking Marge Schott that used to own the Reds.
Yes, the one who called her players her $1 million N-words.
Yeah, and she said that Hitler was good in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, Trump said Hitler was good.
Listen, don't get political. We're anti-capitalists today. Stop. You may have noticed, if you were one of the 2 people that followed the Chewy's Instagram account,
the 2 people
that weren't me, you would have noticed
47,
and you alienated them all with your in constant.
No, that was
rage.
the Chewy account. No, the Chewy account was okay. It was my real name account. That one, everybody stopped following me because I just post anti-cop stuff.
So they made spas that would pour fucking radon water on you.
Oh, God. Radon, something different.
No, according to my research, it says radon.
Isn't radon's a gas, isn't it?
I mean, it can get in your water, though. And it said naturally infused radon water from the local hills.
Oh. Naturally infused.
It's
like my hint is infused with fruit flavors. That was
fucking Christ.
Infused.
We deserve to die.
My hint alone.
We deserve.
I like it. It tastes good.
Just
because you think Sprite Zero tastes good.
Right, but at least
everybody's
that has bubbles
allowed
in
what they like.
There's way more fucking. You're just literally. It says water in the
bubbles.
name. It says water in the name.
I don't need bubbles.
Eat a piece of fruit stripe gum, and then take a sip of regular.
What's the first ingredient of your soda? It's just
magic. The Revigator pot. This was. Oh, are you sick of that? Are you sick of spending all your money like a fucking sucker on that other thing I mentioned, Radithor? Well, you can make your own Radithor at home.
Well, you got a home kit.
Yep.
Hot damn.
We're going to give you the fucking Revigator pot, which basically was a pot that had it was a radioactive fucking pot. And they said pour water in it at night and go to bed. And when you wake up in the morning, you would have fresh, new radioactive water to drink. The instructions said, fill jar every night, drink freely. Drink freely. Average 8 or more glasses a day. Now, we can't drink 6 glasses of water today that doesn't have radioactive shit in it. they were pushing 8 glasses. Though it was olden times, so it was probably like shot glasses. Anyway, it would cure arthritis.
That's true.
Flatulence and senility. It would cure them by killing
Those
you.
things so often come together. Huh?
Dead people don't have arthritis, so technically they were right.
Yeah, it's true.
And
I'm not going to complain anymore about it.
jump on fucking eBay and see if you can grab yourself a Revigator, or don't, because the other part of it was the spout was made of lead. So just to
this is good.
Just to top it off,
So you get lead poisoning and radiation sickness.
Yeah.
That's hot.
That's the big time. That's what you want to do.
That's laissez-faire capitalism.
Well, I mean,
because the government's not in their way, right?
well, sure, but also, I mean, I don't think it's good. It's not a good advertisement for their product if all their customers die. So, like, I don't think they started out. I don't think it was like some diabolical murderer that was like, I know what I'll do.
No, it's definitely not that, but it's a lack of giving a shit, or even like thinking twice and being like, yeah, this is new. Maybe we should test it.
I mean, there is something to be said for like
they literally slap anything in a bottle and say that it's an elixir. Like, here's some hot sauce with some grape jelly, water, lemon juice, and a fart. This will cure your cancer. Just rub it on your insides.
Way to fucking ruin the essential oils episode, asshole.
Essential oil.
You could
non-essential.
You could go to a fucking little spa house where the sand was radioactive, or just lay in a little coffin that had fucking uranium ore.
Appropriate.
And they did that in the 50s. They were still doing it in the 50s.
Can I get a glowy, happy ending?
Probably, but then then you would have Rocket's red glare at the end, and you don't. So, and my favorite one, I don't know.
What color did it glow?
Green. Hulk color, like science.
So it's like that shit that was on like watches when we were kids too.
Yeah, it's
like the same color.
It's the color of ghosts, basically.
There you go. The color of ghosts.
The Nico Clean
Those
Tobacco
of you who
card.
have had,
yeah. If you've encountered a ghost and they were glowing, that's the color that they were glowing. So, the Clean Tobacco card. This was from the 1960s. It was a card.
They still had tobacco cards in the 60s?
No. It wasn't like a baseball card. It was It was functional. It was radioactive. And they said if you put the card in the cigarettes, the radiation from the card would make the cigarettes have less tar and nicotine. So cigarettes were so bad that they went, you know what might be better if we make them radioactive? And this was in the 60s. Like, everybody knew.
That worked out well for the Japanese.
Right? We got to do something with this shit.
Oh my God. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, they must have never tested that. Right? They must have just decided that's what it's going to do.
Well, sure. You got a 50-50 chance.
Either it does or it doesn't.
And something's going to happen, probably. The more things you make radioactive, the bigger the I guess the bang for your buck. I don't fucking know. But the product that we're concerned with is a product called Undock, which
Undock?
Fuckface, the opposite of dock. Undock.
Oh,
fuck you. So
I thought you said undock.
No, you didn't.
I did too.
You're just making fun of me. Anyways.
I wasn't, though.
This time.
I'll admit that.
Here's an ad from the makers of Undock. 23 years ago, radium was unknown. Today, thanks to constant laboratory work, the power of this most unusual of elements is at your disposal. Through the medium of Undark, radium serves you safely and surely. Does Undark really contain radium? Most assuredly. It is radium, combined in exactly the proper manner with zinc sulfide, which gives Undark its ability to shine continuously in the dark. So they made paint.
Wow.
Radioactive paint.
When did Marie Curie die? Didn't she die before all of this stuff?
She died, I got it somewhere. It's down further. Yeah, she died.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert, she died of fucking radiation. Like, in case.
Spoiler. She didn't die till 34. So she was still alive while this was going on.
Right.
Okay.
If your life's work is fucking around with radioactive stuff, you kind of know what you're going to get. Like that guy that fucking lived with the bears, that documentary.
Oh, this one looks a little upset.
So there was a
captain.
There was a legit need for glow in the dark paint, though, because there's a war on.
Sure.
See?
Fighting the crouch, you know.
Yeah. Well, then it was the Kaiser, I think.
Yeah, there was still crouch.
Yeah. The United States Radium Corporation, founded in 1914
USRC.
by Dr. Sabine Arnold von Sahaki and the much worse named George S. Willis. They just could have got him right out. Send this up the chain. Get it right to Sahaki. Right away. We've got to find it. So they made Undark. They were the ones that did it. And since apparently World War I was very dependent on being punctual, like everybody in the army needed to watch, and they needed to be able to see it at night.
Well,
and I'm not going to say
I don't know what time it is.
Right, because you don't want to be late to the battle. You know, I would think that they would need one guy with a watch who could say, could then go,
especially in World War I when it was literally just two groups in trenches 100 yards apart,
what the fuck
just shooting at
9
each
o'clock,
other.
Time to poke my head up and see if I get a shot
time to
off.
start shooting.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
my shift doesn't start for another 15 minutes.
But the other thing they did was they said, okay, well, yes, it would be for watches, but it's also going to be for the dials in the plane's cockpit. And that's legit. I mean, I think they only had biplane, whatever the fuck. They needed it. And I'm not hating on them for needing glowy paint.
Glowy stuff.
Yeah, they needed glowy stuff. And so what they did was they said, all right, well, we're going to make this paint. And there was a company, the Radium Dial Company, that was a division of a chemical company that was in Chicago. The one we're talking about is in New Jersey. The fact it's so it happened at multiple places because there was a lot of it. It wasn't like one guy got the idea. You can't fucking patent like an element. Like you can't be like, oh, I just got the copyright to gold.
Patented copper. Yeah, it's all mine.
So they were making Undark, and the factories were like, okay, well, we're gonna make. I don't know whether they were good watches or shitty watch. I mean, they were only making the face part, so I guess you could take the face and put it on any kind of fucking watch that you wanted. I guess.
Yeah, probably.
So there were in this one factory about 300 women. Now they hired women because they had little nimble hands because you had to paint. You weren't painting big fucking grandfather clocks with your big fucking ham hocks. You're trying to paint
claws.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to paint little fucking things. So these women were like, all right, well, this is going to be good for you, ladies, because and you teenage girls who aren't really old enough to be working, but there's a war on, you see. And even though we're only going to get
Hey,
right
20 years ago, before there were laws, kids worked all the time. It's not that, weird for these people.
they weren't lazy like they are now.
Yeah.
Something Zoomers. Anyway, they made the paint. They had a stack of watches. They would go to work and it's apply paint, 2 numbers, put it over there. I assume somebody else would take it away and lather, rinse, repeat. That's all they did all day was paint numbers on watch faces. And during the peak, when they were the best at it, each woman would make over $50,000 a year.
Wow.
And I ain't doing that math.
Wow.
But see, now we get into the rough part. See, radium was expensive, and they didn't want him dunking the brushes in the water all the time. But what they did do was say, listen, after you've painted a couple, you got to get the end of the paintbrush pointy again. I don't know why somebody wasn't working on a perpetually pointy paintbrush, but what the company said was the easiest way to do it is just like put it in your mouth, use your lips to like smush it into a point, and then you're off to paint your next batch of radioactive watch dials. So, and they were like, you know what? We got to make a lot of these things, so we don't want you to have to go all the way to the lunchroom. So if you want to just eat your lunch at your desk right next to your radioactive paint, that's fine too. So they said,
yeah. So I did the math.
Yeah.
And estimating working about 300 days a week, figuring 6 days a week, 300 days a year, it was about 170 a day. So figure they worked, 10-hour days, probably something like that, 10, 12-hour days. So about 15 an hour.
I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah, if you're doing it for 300 days, I guess it's a lot.
I mean, I bet the ones you do in the morning
for 12
would be,
hours a day.
The ones you do right in the morning would be way better than the ones at night. At the end of the day, because not only are you tired, but your eyes are all squinty. Plus, you've been sucking on your radium paintbrush all day. But it wasn't just that. They started getting called the Ghost Girls because they were like, "Holy fuck, we have glow in the dark paint. This is the only fucking perk that we're ever going to get from any job that we're ever going to have." So there was radium dust everywhere. So their clothes glowed, their skin glowed. They wore their best fucking clothes to work so they would get radium dust on them so that when they went out that night, they would be in the club and they'd be the ones that were glowing and everybody would
It'd be like a rave,
look
like
at
with
Jane.
body paint now.
She painted her fingernails and her teeth with radioactive paint.
Woo!
This isn't toothpaste. They just painted their teeth. Now, there was one guy later, this guy from Harvard, physiologist Cecil Drinker, he did some investigating. He found out that their hair, their faces, their hands, arms, their necks, their clothes, their underwear, even their just glowed. These women just glowed.
Everything glowed.
One other woman her whole back, almost all the way down to her waist, glowed. So they were as a matter of fact, that's probably why they thought they called them Ghost Girls. So that's why they started thinking that that's what ghosts look like. Now, you would think that this was another example of, well, their reach exceeded their grasp and nobody could have foreseen that this element would be so dangerous. What an unfortunate series of events.
What a tragedy.
Except
dun, dun, dun,
people had already died from radium poisoning way before they even made Undark or decided to build the fucking factories. Marie Curie got radiation burns while handling it, and as we mentioned, she died from radiation. Her husband
She did.
said he would not he wouldn't go in the same room with a kilogram of the stuff because he was afraid that it would blind him and burn off his skin.
Right.
Now, this didn't really bubble up to the Gen Pop because I don't think, there was the fucking the big flu epidemic, the Axeman of New Orleans. You can go back and listen to that episode. There was a lot of shit going on. There was a war.
Yeah, this is a busy time in America.
A lot of things happen, and they don't have time to dig into the fucking finer points of radium. And so the company, fucking assholes. The men wore protective aprons and used tongs to deal with the radium. And what the company said was, yeah, of course they have it because they're, let's not pretend that like the executives of the companies were buddies with, Jimmy in the fucking stockroom who's like
Janie Dial Painter.
No, her fucking brother,
right?
Jimmy, whose job was to bring buckets of radioactive shit around the warehouse
into the factory. Yeah,
just bring that over there. Why? Just do what I tell you, son. And so they got aprons, but the company said that it was because they were handling like lots of it, and the girls just had these little tiny paint things. So what's the big?
A little bit.
What's the big? It's safe. Don't worry. Now on the women's side, they had no reason to believe that the company would lie to them.
Of course not. Companies don't lie to employees.
But the jungle had come out like way before that. So, but like we don't. I
don't think these ladies were reading though.
We don't make meat. We make watches. It's completely different.
That's right. There's no people falling in grinders and becoming watches.
Exactly. So we're gonna just keep doing our job.
Joe fell in and now he's a Timex.
Yeah, exactly. So they just kept on painting their watches and themselves and working in the fucking radioactive fucking factory.
Why not?
And good God, how the money rolled in.
Yes.
And then Amelia Maja, she painted watches. She got a toothache.
Uh-oh.
She went to the doctor. Now let me explain. As far as the body is concerned, it can't tell the difference between radium and calcium.
Right.
Because whatever chemical signature it has, the body is like, oh, calcium, huh? Well, you know what that's good for? Your bones and your teeth. So let's send it all right there.
Right.
The problem with that is that calcium makes your bones strong. If you've ever seen a skeleton at Halloween, you know that they are on the lookout for calcium all the time because that's how they stay, vigorous. Radium, on the other hand, does the opposite. And we're just going to get to this part. She had big fucking pus ulcers in her mouth and whatever like that. And the doctors were like, what's fucking wrong with you? And
that's weird.
That's a strange thing. Bodily humors or some shit like that. But the dentist was like, well, wait a minute. I don't get to fuck around and say I don't know what it is. Dentists don't get to do that. You know what I mean? Doctors can be all fucking wishy-washy.
But there's only so many things a dentist could be diagnosing.
I'm just saying that dentists are pretty reliable. You very rarely hear stories of, oh, I went to the dentist and the dentist told me, don't worry about it. And later that day, my head fell
died.
Off. Like, yeah.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, my dentist checks for oral cancer because that's
look at your dentist.
My regular, well, she's going to be your dentist too because you got to have one. Anyway, he went to pull this woman's tooth out,
Yeah.
and a big chunk of her jaw came with it.
Oh, that's no good.
And that's not normal. And
you need your jaw for things.
Yep. But now here's the part that I don't get. In this particular case, first of all, I don't care that it was the 1920s or whatever, and how grizzled anybody was. If you're just a regular fucking dentist going, well, that tooth looks bad, it's got to come out, but I can pull out. If their face comes with it, you're gonna be alarmed. I don't know how the fuck you keep it together. And certainly the poor fucking woman whose face was coming off of her head as he did his extraction had to, be involved in what was happening and then could not ask any questions because he just pulled her fucking jaw out. But here's the more fucked up part. She came back and he did it again. Like, and somehow I pulled on your tooth and your jaw came out, or some of it, and then I just said, okay, well, make an appointment for next week and I'll see you next week.
Get some more jaw.
Maybe you should fucking
hope everything else stays together.
I would say gargle with something, but apparently you just have your mouth won't close now, so I don't know. And this poor fucking woman, so spoiler, she died. And even though they knew as early as 1917, the women were like, yeah, something's not right. I feel a little woozy. Maybe this sucking on radioactive paint all day is not a great idea. And so here's where, the doctors, the real doctors, and I have to specify that, would have no fucking frame of reference. No, worse. The dentists were the first ones to find it. Then the women stopped having their periods.
Oh, crap.
And if they were pregnant, then they would end up losing the babies. Or the doctors would intervene and say, all right, well, we're going to terminate this pregnancy because
that kid's a ghoul.
Yeah, because I've read comic books in the future. I know what happens. I'm not permitting the
kid's got no bones.
Creation of fucking Spider-Man. So it was a big. They got fucking throat cancer. Everything. It was all fucked up. It was fucked. And the company need to keep a lid on it.
You mean the company didn't come out and announce that something bad had happened with him?
Immediately embrace their brave employees and say, we'll spare no expense until we get to the bottom of it? No.
Yeah.
Allow me to reenact the board meeting where this first started coming out.
Oh, boy.
All right, listen here, folks. We're going to be in trouble, see, because...
Talk like it's the 20s, see?
We're going to be in trouble because these dames, their heads are falling off, and we think that it might have something to do with our paint. Now, we got two options here. We can appeal to the general public saying that these brave women who were doing their part for the war effort were completely brutalized by an unfeeling company, exploited and then cast aside. That's one way. But Americans kind of like kind-hearted women doing their part for the war. But you know what Americans don't like? Sluts. So what we're going to do instead, if you all agree, board members, we're going to pay off doctors to say they all had syphilis. And that's what they did.
Oh, my God.
They went with B. So they went, all right, well, how many doctors could there be around these three fucking radioactive watch factories that we made in Connecticut and New Jersey and Illinois? So they started paying off doctors. One guy did one doctor did an actual study and said, yeah, no, this is exactly what happened. This is a big fucking problem, and it's all because of the paint and them making them lick the paint. So
good for him.
But it wasn't though, because for some reason, apparently
everybody preferred the slut excuse.
No, I couldn't figure out how they did it, but they got a hold of his report and just changed it. They just fucking changed it and said, yeah, see, this eminent guy that did this study said it's fine. It also fixes your cock. So look, nothing to do with us. And no one followed up. Like, I don't know how. I've been researching this for a while. I still can't figure out how they fucking bamboozled everyone on that one. So
They didn't kill the guy or something?
no.
Jesus.
So one gal quit. She went to work for the bank. A bank.
And then her ears fell off.
Right. So she decided, fuck it, I'm going to sue him. And it took her 2 years to find a lawyer that would actually take the case. Well, you're just a dumb bank teller. And from what I hear, quite a slut. So I'm not going to help you, said every other lawyer, especially if they were going up against big Radium Watch. Like, that seems like it would be a
They
problem.
have big radium money.
Yeah, so the fucking women, they were like, we know that they did it. We know they did it. We know they knew. And so in 1927, a lawyer took the case.
So at this point, they'd been using it on the watches for 10 years.
Right, but the women that sued were sick, but they didn't work there anymore. And that will actually be important.
Okay.
So the lawyer made a study, and the company looked at the study and said, well, guess what? Your study sucks. We made our own studies, and they all say that we're the best, and we're going to go with those. Because apparently there were just no rules in court back then. And the media started to get, involved because there were dynamics to the case that weren't the same as every other case. One of the biggest ones being that some of the fucking plaintiffs in the case couldn't get out of bed, so they had to go get their testimony taken while they're fucking glowing in a bed dying. Who knew, most of them, if not all of them, knew that even if they won, it wasn't going to do anything for them. They knew they were dead.
Right.
But they wanted to be like, okay, well, there's people that are still working there. And this has to be a fucking thing. So the fucking company, God damn it. The company, US Radium, asked for a continuance at one point.
Okay.
And I fucking know that the witness came and she was wearing a back brace and her fucking bones were all fucking wobbly and whatever like that. She came and gave testimony and everything like that. Then they were going to have another hearing, and that's when they said, all right, well, time out, we can't do it. Because they knew that by the time they picked back up, she wouldn't be able
dead.
wouldn't either be dead or not be able to get
wouldn't
there.
be able to function.
Right. Fucking cocksuckers. So then,
God, damn, this country's great.
So the judge said, so first it was okay, well, we're going to kick it to April and whatever like that.
Right.
But then at one point the judge goes, well, we have to, we're going to postpone the rest of the trial till September. And naturally people asked why. And the reason,
that's what they paid me to do.
No, worse. It's actually worse because they didn't pay off the judge. The judge was like, well, there are important witnesses from US Radium who need to fucking testify in this case, and they're on holiday in Europe. These are important men. I can't be calling them back from overseas just because these women are fucking decaying before our eyes.
Oh my God. Fucking assholes.
And then the whole country was like, fuck you, judge in New Jersey. And so they were like, all right, well, I guess we got to get it fucking rolling again. And
well, it's nice that people at least cared to bitch enough.
Right, but it was also olden time, so it was probably fucking August by the time they even found it out. But anyway, US Radium then realized that the tide was turning, so they settled.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure it was for nothing compared to what they made. That's like the model drug companies use now, right? They make billions of dollars knowing they'll get sued for side effects, but those lawsuits don't amount to how much they make, so it's worth it.
That's why whenever you hear somebody say tort reform, you should kick them right in whatever they got.
Everything is all about cost-benefit analysis.
So they got 10 grand.
Nice.
And
which back then would be the equivalent of 17 trillion today.
Exactly. They also got $600 a year.
Oh, that's something too. Back then,
in
that's
living
good.
expenses for the people that were going to die imminently.
Within months.
Right.
Anyway.
And paid their medical bills.
Well, that's good.
For treatment that didn't exist. They just, well, I mean.
That's a good point.
So,
for being kept comfortable at the hospital.
Right. So, in exchange for this glorious offer from the company, they had to agree to not hold the company liable and never say that they got sick.
Of course not. Of course. Never hold them accountable. Fucking fuck.
So, now we're going to fast forward to today.
Oh, sweet. I like today. Well, I don't, but I'm in it.
Let's say that you and I are going to start a radium business.
Nice.
And we're going to...
Are we going to start it in America or China?
No, here.
All right, then we should go...
shipping jobs overseas.
Well, if we want to get people poor enough...
Well, we'll make a vitamin...
find the right places.
We'll make a vitamin and we'll say that it has, you know, all these essential elements, and we'll need to pad it out. So radium will be one of them. But...
Oh, yeah.
In order to make sure that we are okay as far as government regulations is concerned, we have to make sure that the maximum exposure to anyone involved with this fucking business venture,
right,
the most that they can get exposed to is 1/10 of one microcurie.
That doesn't seem like a lot.
1/10 of one. Now,
and how much were these ladies being exposed?
Well, they crunched the numbers and they found out in the 1930s that they had straight up eaten, depending on the painter, hundreds or a few thousand microcuries every year.
So when these women died, like, were their insides all glowy?
So that's a thing. What was the opening? The opening of... I would say there was a poem written by...
The opening of...
the cold open at the top. I'm going to read... I never ever do this, but I'm going to read this poem by Eleanor Swanson. Because there was a movie made up about the Radium Girls. It's not a good movie.
No. It stars the girl from The Kissing Booth on Netflix.
So here's the... That was my big COVID business venture. Fucking went belly up. So this is Radium Girls by Eleanor Swanson. We sat at long tables side by side in a big dusty room where we laughed and carried on until they told us to pipe down and paint. The running joke was how we glowed. The handkerchiefs we sneezed into lighting up our purses when we opened them at night. Our lips and nails painted for our boyfriends as a lark, simmering white as ash in a dark room. Would you die for science? The reporter asked us, Edna and me, the main ones in the papers. Science? We mixed up glue, water, and radium powder into a glowing greenish-white paint and painted watch dials with a little brush, one number after another, all day long from the rack sitting next to our chairs. After a few strokes, the brush lost its shape, and our bosses told us to point it with our lips. Was that science? I quit the watch factory to work in a bank and thought I'd gotten class, more money, a better life, until I lost a tooth in back and two in front, and my jaw filled up with sores. We sued, Edna, Catherine, Quinta, Larice, and me, but when we got to court, not one of us could raise our arms to take the oath. My teeth were gone by then. Pretty Grace Fryer, they called me in the papers. All of us were dying. We heard the scientist in France, Marie Curie, could not believe the manner in which we worked and how we tasted that pretty paint 100 times a day. Now, even our crumbling bones will glow forever in the black earth. So, Could just read the poem and not had the rest of the show.
Yeah, that covered it.
Except that it doesn't go out of its way to point out that the fucking company said, oh no,
Right.
let's tell them that they had syphilis and
Oh my
all this
God.
other bullshit. So what do we take away from this? What good thing can come from the suffering that these women went through? Well, by the way, one of their other dodges for why they couldn't be sued, well, they don't work here anymore, so it can't have anything to do with us. Statute of limitation, something. That was the company was kind of, they put all their money on that.
Right.
That too much time had elapsed. So the company got a settlement and they didn't go out of business. Radium paint was still used on dials as late as the 1960s. In 1949, a law was passed that made any disease you got as a result of where you worked compensatable and extended the amount of time that workers had to figure it out and file claims. So if you or someone who you love has been exposed to asbestos and may have mesothelioma, you can thank these people in that law.
Did you live in Camp Lejeune between 1949 and 1987?
Yep. The number of people who got sick or died, they don't know. But they think it's around 4,000.
Well, considering, they put syphilis as the cause of death.
Right. And yes, they glowed. Some were exhumed and put in lead coffins.
Yeah.
Because they were a literal nuclear waste. Their bodies were a hazard.
Oh, sure.
Just in the ground. So
leaching that shit into the soil and everything.
So it did set a precedent for individual workers to sue employers. It didn't have to be class action. Safety standards got created. Some got enhanced. They figured out
OSHA.
There you can draw a line from this case to OSHA.
Yeah.
They started to go, well, you know what? We've got to figure out how much radium is safe to take, and we're going to start at how much they had and go down from there because, we don't know the floor, but we've definitely found the ceiling. The other thing about it, well, there were a few other things about it, but the fact that these women went through this was actually genuinely invaluable to science because they accidentally told everybody what would happen if you had long-term exposure to radioactive material.
Radiation.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a shitty way to do it, but you're not going to, we're just going to forget everything that we learned. You got to fucking go with it.
Yeah.
Even though they knew as early as 1901 that it was harmful.
Yeah.
So,
but it's cost-benefit analysis, right? It's what's gonna is the benefit more than what it could possibly do to you? And when you know that you're dealing with women with no power, you're probably pretty secure that you'll be able to take care of whatever happens.
True. Now, interestingly, in 1968, a thing called the Center for Human Radiology was established. And pretty much the only reason it was established was to basically examine and help, if they could, I guess, the dial painters that were still alive.
Right.
And they got as many tissue samples as they could. The project ended in 1993. They had ended up with over 2,400 different cases of people that were still alive.
Right.
And they published a lot on, the effect of radium on humans. The factory site in Orange, New Jersey is a Superfund site now.
Of course it is.
But it's also in the National Register of Historic Places.
Sure.
Now, it's in the same category as the fucking Triangle Shirtwaist Company, but
Factory.
yeah, factory. It is significant. They found in 1980 when the New Jersey Environmental Protection studied the fucking site in Orange, there were, instead of the normal background level of 0.3 microcuries of radium, there it was
A little bit more.
50. Fancy that.
Wow.
So
a couple hundred times more. Big whoop.
Yeah, it was a super fun site for 9 years.
Now it's a park.
Yeah. Now it's a public well. So
you should say they love the glowy water.
Yeah. So I've said before, and I've had conversations before where it's been brought up, this whole idea of, that all companies are for profit and that's all they care about, et cetera, that notion kind of started in the 80s because CEO pay went through the roof and it got tied to stock price because they wanted to pump stocks because 401ks were invented, and that got schlubs like us pretending that we knew something about the stock market so that we could cheer for billionaires to get richer and whatever.
Right.
But this was way back when none of that was happening, and they were still like, well, we're not going to fucking pay these bitches off. We're going to do everything we can to do the opposite.
It's always been like that since the first company was created, whenever that was.
I think it was Kane's kissing booth.
It might have been.
Come here, brother. There's no one else on earth to kiss. I'm not kissing mom
kiss
or dad
me.
because that's weird.
And our wives haven't been invented yet, so
they're over there behind that hill, I've heard. Anyway,
that other creation going on over there.
So we've got women who did a job.
Well, just never think that the company you work for has your best interests in mind. The company will always decide for itself before it decides for you.
And you know what? There's better proof.
HR is only there to protect the company.
You remember that when you're at the X Strangeful Things host reunion.
That's right, I will.
It's very large.
I'm on my way.
There's a lot of people.
Everybody else.
There's a lot of people at it. Motherfuckers. Anyway, the companies are terrible. These women suffered.
Yes.
But we learned a bunch as a result of their suffering. But that was... I'm not going to say I wish we didn't know, because if we didn't know, then it just would have happened to somebody else. You know what I mean? So I guess...
Right.
Yay that they kind of figured... I mean, you'd think that they would have figured it out when the lady that discovered the shit died and her husband was like, yeah, no, that's totally what killed her. That seems like it would have been enough for me, but nah.
I guess it depends on how much money they were making. Plus, if they were doing the watches in World War I, that was a government contract. So
they had a big government contract. But the government wasn't trying to fucking get involved. They were just like, our soldiers need to know what
they just wanted glowy watches.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, where does everybody find
I'm sure the government wouldn't normally put soldiers' lives in danger or anything like that.
Come on. Stop foreshadowing future episodes. Just tell them where they can find us.
This is just fucked up. You can find us. Where do they find us? I'm just kidding. You can go to allmylinks.com/strangefulthings, and that'll show you everywhere you can find us.
That's right. Or you can come to the Discord. No, that's linked on that. Right.
That is on there. Yes. It is. You are correct, sir.
So then, I guess that's it. Don't drink radium, and
watch the water at work, and if your stuff glows, don't put it in your mouth. Keep on flapping, everybody. Love you.
Bye.